Well, first off, welcome to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse. Second off, I'm not endorsing this. It's just the only shirt I could get on. Because Sunday, and I know this doesn't look like much, but I was trying to put up a fence with my neighbor, and we had an accident, and I got sliced down to the bone. So it's hard to get dressed, it's hard to eat, it's hard to wash, it's hard to do anything because my fucking finger's all messed up. And there's a segue to this too about the shitty medical care I got. This nurse practitioner sewed me up and just left me in a room. Another nurse came in and basically was miffed because she had to bandage me up. And then I didn't see the nurse practitioner for another hour, even though I tried to flag him down. So I basically had to leave with no discharge papers. So I guess I got to take the stitches out myself whenever. So yeah. So add that into the fact that I basically had to rehome my bearded dragons because I can't afford to take care of them anymore. That was Sunday. So I had to make some decisions, which I will speak of later on after I do this little bit about the Little Cigar Mob, or Little Cigars, from 1974. Probably one of the most politically incorrect pictures of all times. I guess if you threw it up to what's going on today, they'd poo-poo all over it. But it's basically a story, and one of our 70s starlets, it was always around, Angel Tompkins, basically has a falling out with her boyfriend, played by Joe DeSantis, and throws some fucking hot coffee on him or something. She's out and she goes to this performance with these midget performers, Billy Curtis, Jerry Marvin, Felix Silva, and others, who basically do a performance, and while the audience is watching, they break into their cars and steal shit. So Angel catches them do this. She's Cleo in this film. Cleo. And she approaches Slick, Billy Curtis, about doing something, and blows him off. Well, Billy's sort of a dick, but then goes to see her while she's working and offers her a proposition, which she turns down. Until two thugs come in that are hired by her former boyfriend, and she winds up shooting one of them in the arm and taking off in this yellow, I think it's a Dodge Challenger or something like that. Then she goes to Earl Scheib. Does anybody remember Earl Scheib? They'll paint your car for $49.95 no matter what, and throw in free body work and shit like that. So she goes in yellow and comes out blue. Then she hooks up with Slick as another diversion while they basically are selling these candy bars that are supposed to be an aphrodisiac, and while the midgets are circulating selling the candy bars, they are also picking pockets. So this goes on until Cleo and Slick have an argument, and Cleo decides she's going out for a real man, quote unquote. And this is where it gets really fun. Slick tracks her down to a bar where she's sitting with some redneck cowboy and tells her it's time to go home. The cowboy tells him to fuck off. Basically, Billy climbs the bar and punts the guy in the face off the stool and starts stomping him. And there's a pretty good fight, which winds up with Billy getting the shit slapped out of him, but then kicking the guy in the balls and bringing him to his knees. And then Cleo breaks a whiskey bottle over his head, pulls a gun, and they rob the place, which is a segue for basically putting the gang together and doing a lot of robberies, B&Es and stuff like that, till they get up to the point where they're going to walk away with $25,000 apiece. Well, things get a little dicey because Cleo gets caught basically running a diversion for the guys, and then they break her out because they think the little guys are children. And then the witnesses claim that, these were midgets, and they round up all the midgets in town, including little Angelo Rizzuto, who gives a little diatribe about something. I mean, it wouldn't be a midget movie without Angelo. So anyway, they plan this last heist, and Cleo takes off with Slick, leaving the other four to deal with the consequences, and the Felix Silva character gets shot. So they check into a completely swanky hotel in San Francisco, and Cleo was going to get passports, and then they hide the money in a crawl space. But unbeknownst to them, the other four guys figured out where they were and come in and just beat the shit out of Slick and want the money, but when he reaches up to get the money, guess what? The attaché is empty. So looks like Cleo fucked him until she comes back with the money. And they basically threaten a gangbang on her, but they don't have time, so they take the money and run. And Cleo and Slick have a conversation where they basically didn't trust each other, and now they do, and they can live happily ever after. It's really a crazily good film. It's a lot of fun, and you know, the characters are pretty intense, but would it fly today? Probably not. I thought it was, the weird part was, I picked this up on 16 millimeter years ago thinking I had seen this, and I brought it over to somebody else's house who thought we had seen it, and we're watching this and go, I never seen this before, neither did I. So I had thought it was out on a Blu-ray, but it's not. It's out on one of those burn-on-demands from MGM. Still definitely worth a look. So now we go back to the segue of where I'm at now, and I'm not in a good place. Yesterday I was so beat up I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't even get out of the house. I got orders to mail. And that made me sit here and think. And I think on the last episode I alluded to I wanted to put out another Two-Fisted Tales of Times Square, and I got no response to that question, so that tells me I'm not going to put out a Two-Fisted Tales of Times Square. And I had to also think about a lot of the stuff that had been said to me over the last couple of years about maybe being on that Joe Bob show or something, and some other people wanted to interview me and this and that. It's always we're dangling the carrot, this and that and the other thing. Honestly, it would have been nice if Chiller Theater had invited me back to actually say goodbye to my fans, but that never happened and never will happen. And I don't expect anything from Cinema Wasteland because they hate my guts too, and the feeling is mutual. The thing is, I have been having problems. I will admit that I think I'm slipping mentally. And it's not only in this, it's a lot of things. And it's really rough at my age to be living alone and wondering what's going to happen next. And I was on that phone therapy shit, which fucking blows anyway, doesn't do anything. And this is a matter of public record. After my last dog is gone, I'm going to be gone too. I really have no reason to hang around after that. There's nothing to keep me here. I hated to part with my dragons, but I couldn't afford to keep them, and that kind of sucks, and that's never happened to me before. So what I think's going to happen is, being that my whole fascination with everything weird and wonderful started on Halloween, I think I'll just do my October show and bring it back to the old black and white stuff, the things that scared us when we were kids and things like that. And then on October 31st, I think it's time for 42nd Street Pete to say goodbye. And I know that's probably not what anybody wants to hear, but I'm really having a hard time right now. I'm really having a hard time keeping things going. I'm really wondering if I'm going to be able to afford to stay in my own fucking house after this bullshit. And I'm really wondering what's going to happen after the election, because there's a lot of creepy, scary shit going on around here and all over the place. And I always believed there was evil in the world, but I never saw it manifest itself so fucking hideously. What's going on here, basically, to me, is worse than any horror movie anybody could cook up. And if things aren't taken care of the right way, we're all going to suffer. And at 72 years old, I think I've taken enough fucking beatings over my life where I don't have to take any more. So that's my overall plan. I don't think it's subject to change at this point, because I really don't have a lot to go on with here. And I'm just really, like I said, I've been having problems, and I'm still having problems. And even though this looks like a minor fucking thing, this really fucking hurts. I can't get dressed. I can't wipe my ass. I can hardly do anything with this shit. You never know how much your dominant hand is needed until shit like this happens. So that's our show for today. Definitely check out Little Cigars. Definitely worth a look. And thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. And we will catch you on the flip side.